systems and communication systems that you might have, radio systems and those type of things to aid in a response should that happen. Sorry, I forgot about my own slides here. The reptilian part of my brain is just kicking in here on this. Next level of this is a lot of work in the area of operational planning. The shift here is it used to be that you did a lot of the operation plans and they were very detailed, and then every teacher got that and no one looked at it because it went in a binder and no one could find the binder so the shift is to really start to work with the teachers to give them a much smaller set of protocols that they can work and try to universalize that for certain responses. And then the folks that are what we call incident commanders in a situation, they're the ones with the big binders that know how to work down that and are issuing commands as needed in the situation. Some of those protocols are around building readiness. Gabby mentioned the lockdown. That's one of the readiness situations. There's also shelter in place and so forth. The issue with that is that there's a number of different methods that are out there, and it's not universal in terms of what they all mean. So that's a lot of the work that's happening right now is how can we consistently say that if lockdown happens here, it's the same as lockdown over here and so forth. There's also response protocols in terms of active shooter events and how to respond to that. Ottawa County uses avoid, deny, defend, which is crazy, and I'll let them talk about that in their time down at the other end of the table. There's drills, practice, 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 and it's tough how to do that in a non-traumatic way, but you need to still do that training, and that's the challenge that we have. There are response kits that are happening, trying to pre-stage stop the bleed kits, tourniquets, and those type of things so that they're available. And the one down there with the toilet is what happens if you're in one of those lockdowns for an extended period of time. There are biological things that have to happen, and you don't want people running out in the hallways, and so that's some of the work schools are doing. There's also planning around reunification and then all those post events that are happening that were mentioned up here. So that's kind of generally what's going on. A couple initiatives regionally that I'm involved with, or at least this first one is the Ottawa Area Secure School Network. And that's really bringing all the schools and law enforcement and first responders together to have conversations around these. And we've been going at it since about fall of 2017 when we had our first summit and started looking at some of the objectives that turned into the mission statement. Send that to you. We primarily thus far have done a lot of summits that have a couple different functions. One is awareness, and then other is that we do things around tabletop exercises. This one has happened to be for a large scale event, which was kind of prophetic in that the last 10 days ago there was actually an event down in Arlington, or from Alabama, which is similar scenarios. Thankfully, there wasn't gunshots there, but similar scenario. We did another one in terms of the school, and that allows us to talk about what is training, how do you conduct a tabletop exercise, and those type of things. Also, how do we work with command incident commands and start educating that way. And then working with individual teachers so that they can move from that reptilian brain up into their thinking brain in an event and not just panic, but actually they become responders until we can have first responders and so forth join us, and they can set up incident command with that. And so we've developed protocols around that. And our next summit, which is in a couple weeks, is actually focusing on that reunification and the post response event, and we've got a speaker coming in with that. I'm going to skip over this one for time. We're also about to kick off our collaboration teams, and that's where the specific focus areas are going to happen. And then, what's my time? Am I done or? And then I'll just mention on the mental health side, there's also a similar initiative called the Ottawa Community Schools Network, which is really trying to focus in on providing helps to schools or students in the schools. And then we're starting to, at a high level, start to talk about those things together. And hopefully a summit coming up is actually going to take both those organizations and work on that. So thank you.
Thank you.
End of mine.
There we go. Thank you very much, Mike. We have both Sergeant Koster and Sheriff Kemper coming up. Please.
Great, thank you. Good evening. First I want to apologize. I came in late from another meeting, but just to introduce myself, my name is Steve Kemper and I'm the current Sheriff of Ottawa County. I've been with the department for 30 years and about 38 years total in law enforcement. So So as you can imagine, all you have to do is watch the news today. Our world in law enforcement has changed dramatically. There are things back when I started that I never thought I would see what we're doing today. What we're doing in the schools, what we see in mental health. Just the fact that we now run church security programs, how to secure your church. Something that we never dreamed would happen. I think back, when 9/11 hit, as you know, this was just last week, everybody can probably remember where they were at. And I remember we were in our conference room looking at the TV saying, this is going to change our world from today forward forever. And it has. So at the Sheriff's Department, we've had to take a proactive stance when we look at mass shooting incidents and other incidents that we deal with every day. And again, business has changed for us. The way that we're going to do our business and how we equip ourselves. We do a ton of training, which Sergeant Coster has been involved in. Not only training our staff on how to respond and react and use the equipment that's now provided to us, but we also do training for you, what we call the civilian staff of our county. As you all know, and I preach this everywhere I go, Ottawa County and Muskegon, West Michigan's the best place to live. It is when you really look at it. And yes, we do have incidents that occur, and we deal with those. Some of the things you hear me talk about, equipment. We've had to outfit our officers with patrol rifles. We just recently, within last year, outfitted every officer, including myself, with a ballistic helmet and an active shooter vest. It's a heavier vest that goes over. Chris probably won't tell you, but our vests that we wear are a lighter weight vest that will not stop a high-powered round. So over the years, we have been dealing with more and more people with high-powered rifles that will literally, and I'll put it this way, will rip right through our ballistic vest. So if we do respond to these incidents, my first goal is that the officers need to be able to get to the scene, be safe on that scene, and take the action that they have to take to stop or neutralize the incident. We don't like to think about that in our profession, but we do, and we train constantly. And Chris, I'm going to let him go into that a little bit more. We're constantly working now with the schools. Collaboration and working together is extremely important. All the way from meetings like this evening, to working with the mental health professionals in Ottawa County, to working with the schools, local businesses, and churches. Years ago, I'll be honest with you, we just went out, we did our patrol work and worked. And that's why we are very strong on community policing here in Ottawa County, is get the community involved. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, because the reality is it can happen anywhere at any time. A lot of people want to know what we do with the threats. When a threat comes in, I can assure you that we take action. We've had incidents at schools. Last year we had an incident at a school down in the Holland area with a report of a subject with a gun on the campus. We are trained that whether you're one or you're a group of 5 or 6 officers, you go. And that's exactly what happened that day. Our deputy on staff, she immediately stopped the threat at the school. We used to have to say that, well, we need 4 or 5 or 6 of us to go in as a team. Ideally, yeah, that's great. But in the county, our backup sometimes can be around the corner or 20 minutes away. So again, that's where the training is very important for us. I can be honest with you, if I'm dressed like this and I'm in front of a school or a business or a church or another incident that takes place, I have the equipment in my car and I'm going to respond to it. Because that's the duty and obligation that we have to the citizens of Ottawa County and to our public here. So sometimes with these threats, a good share of them are just somebody doing this. They want to show off, or they just want to say, hey, I brought it's actually a toy gun that came to school, or they make the threat. But as you heard what the student said, it affects the entire school. And I'm not going to let fool you, it affects the teachers and the staff in those schools too. If there's a threat made in a school, or a subject makes statements in a school or in a business, we go right in and we take them right out of the classroom, we take them right out of the hallway, and we bring them in and start our investigation. As the panel spoke here, warning signs. I think in a lot of the shooting incidents, the warning signs have been out there. A lot of people go, well, they posted stuff on social media, why didn't you see it? We can't monitor that many social media sites, and that's where we need the help of students that will speak up, that see stuff on Facebook that we don't see. If we're made aware of it, we do have a forensic team that works with computers and that. We can get in there, and we actively work with the FBI, the Secret Service, the ATF, and we go in and investigate these immediately. I just wanted to touch a little bit on mental health. We deal with mental health incidents morning, afternoon, and night, 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They are becoming more and more common. We also deal with them in our jail setting. A lot of people, you see the black and white sheriff's car driving around, but I also have a jail facility down on Fillmore Street in West Olive that holds 462 people. This afternoon there are 375 people in that jail facility, and we can estimate approximately 60% of them have some type of a mental health issue or have had a mental health incident. So as sheriff, it's my responsibility to make sure that these people have the help that they need when they come into our jail facility. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Years ago, how did you deal with a mental health incident? You normally arrested the person for a disorderly charge. They came into the jail, they were booked in, they were either released on a PR bond or they paid the $100 bond, and they went right out the door, and nobody ever touched that person for help. Now when they come in, that person is touched. Whether it's through our medical staff, we just recently increased our medical staff at the jail to include more mental health contact with our inmates, and also working with county mental health. That's fine while they're in the jail facility, but we need to make sure that that person also has those contacts when they leave our facility. My